Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight.
The Prime Minister details plans on how the government will assist Dominica.
The CW Sanders stands with open arms to welcome those students in from Dominica.
Plus, the Works Minister hits back at a former MP over BPL contracts.
Our news is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Topping news tonight, 3 days after revealing the government will assist school children and families from storm-ravaged Dominica. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis detailed those planned efforts during a communication in the House of Assembly this morning. In an emotional address, Dr. Minnis revealed that immigration rules will be temporarily relaxed to accommodate those students, as he also revealed relief supplies will also be shipped to Dominica on a Defense Force vessel. Jasmine Brown was in Parliament today and filed this report.
At several points during his communication, the Prime Minister wiped away tears as he described the devastation on Dominica before outlining how the Bahamian government plans on assisting. While giving that lengthy communication this morning, the Prime Minister revealed his government will temporarily relax immigration laws for Dominican school children who wish to continue their education in the Bahamas as their country struggles to rebuild.
Permits to reside will be issued to students from Dominica who, with the approval of parents, wish to study in the Bahamas.
According to Minnis, there are 3 categories of students who may apply. They include children who have relatives in the Bahamas who can find lodging and support from their family members, college students who wish to study and seek boarding at the University of the Bahamas, and children whose parents are employed by companies that have offices in the Bahamas.
Children are among those who are most affected by natural disasters and hurricanes. Such psychological scars and mental scars often last a lifetime.
Today's details follow Minnis' pledge over the weekend to help Dominica after he met with Dominican Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit at Jet Aviation. But not everyone was sold on the pledge, with some insisting the government needs to focus on Bahamians, like those who are rebuilding in Ragged Island, which was deemed uninhabitable following the passage of Hurricane Irma. Hurricane Maria lashed Dominica last week as a Category 5 hurricane, flattening more than 80% of buildings, severing water and electrical supplies, and cutting off telecommunications. At several points during his communication, the Prime Minister could be seen wiping away those tears as he detailed the devastation.
Dominica, Mr. Speaker, has experienced an apocalypse. At least 15 people have died, with the death toll likely to rise. Dominica is a country of mountains. Quite a number of mountain communities are not accessible by road. Reports suggest that 85% of buildings have either been destroyed or severely damaged.
He called the assistance the right thing to do, as he insisted the backlash was not becoming of a nation that calls itself Christian.
Charity may begin at home, but Christian charity never stops at the borders of any country.
The government will also send a Royal Bahamas Defense Force vessel with supplies. The Prime Minister will also lead a team to Dominica on Monday to assess the damage there. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Well, opposition leader Philip Rafe Davis briefly responded to the controversy surrounding the Dominican immigration policy. Davis also addressed Parliament this morning and thanked the Prime Minister for finally providing details about the policy involving Dominican school children. But the opposition leader also insisted there would have been far less pushback if details about the policy were not initially withheld.
I think the fan that perhaps that erupted the fire of xenophobia in the public domain was as a result of the fact that no details were provided in respect to the offer that was made.
Davis called the controversy surrounding the policy unfortunate, adding it's the last thing Dominica needs after being ravaged by a major storm. Well, Parliament got off to a heated start today as two MPs got into a verbal altercation, eventually involving the House Speaker, who in turn sent a warning to one of those MPs.
Now, honourable member, if I hear from you again in a disrespectful manner to this chair, I will name you and suspend you.
A stern warning from House Speaker Halston Moutry to Engliston MP Glenys Hannah Martin after she sought to make a point of order and defend her former colleague Jerome Fitzgerald. But here's what happened that led to that moment.
Mr. Speaker, my point.
And the rules are very clear.
Speaker, man. Come on,
no, honourable member, honourable member, resume your seat. Resume your seat. Yes, and I'm giving you fairness. Honourable member, resume your seat.
May I state this?
Honourable member, resume your seat.
It all started when Carmichael MP Desmond Bannister responded to a statement by former MP Jerome Fitzgerald, who denied having any interest in his father's company receiving a contract from Bahamas Power and Light and claimed that he was defamed and would seek legal action. But it was the portion where Fitzgerald spoke of parliamentary privilege that got to the Carmichael MP.
Mr. Speaker, one of the few times that the sense of integrity and respect for others was blatantly and purposely abused was when the former Minister of Education released the private emails of individuals in this place. He abused the privilege of this honorable House and ought to have been condemned for blatantly misusing this forum that the Bahamian people have entrusted to us.
Fitzgerald came under heavy criticism for his decision to read the private emails of Save the Bay's members in Parliament and was eventually fined in the Supreme Court. But Bannister didn't stop there.
His mean-spirited and churlish conduct was offensive to right-thinking people. History will not remember him kindly. Mr. Speaker, I deny defaming Mr. Fitzgerald. In any event, sir, I am advised that one may only defame someone who has a good reputation.
The Carmichael MP said he would waive his parliamentary privilege on this occasion if Fitzgerald files a lawsuit against him, but on two conditions.
The first is that he will proceed quickly with the action and will not withdraw it until the court issues its judgment. Sir, this first condition is in Mr. Fitzgerald's best interest, since he would not wish to withdraw an action that he files in order to vindicate himself. The second undertaking is that Mr. Fitzgerald will agree to pay me any damages or costs that the court determines ought to be paid to me within 30 days of the judgment.
That obviously not sitting well with Hannah Martin, who once sat in cabinet with Fitzgerald.
I'm a bit concerned about the presentation just made on the point of privilege because it has now translated into a further attack on someone who does not sit in this parliament. There's no point of order on my point of order. Sit down. Speaker? Speaker? No,
Honourable member.
Speaker.
Honourable member.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
The presiding officer in charge.
That's what I was just trying to make the point earlier, Mr. Speaker. I was just trying to make that point. Speaker, I don't want you to be aware of that when it's just me, Mr. Speaker. I raised the point earlier and the member intervened and you let him rule the day, Mr. Speaker. I am guided by you, Mr. Speaker, not by the member.
Eventually, the Engliston MP got her point across.
The member that we are referring to does not sit in this House. He's not able to defend himself, Mr. Speaker. And so when you have an expansive exposition on litigation and all kinds of things, you are actually, in my view, abusing the process of this House. You are further abusing, you are taking leverage and advantages because that person does not sit in this House. That is the point I'm making, Speaker. While we have privileges, we also recognize that people who are outside of this Parliament have rights, Speaker, and that is the point that I make.
Well, in light of the Prime Minister's first outline on welcoming those Dominican students, a number of schools expressing their doors are open to assist. Here's April Sands.
Now that Dr. Minnis has proposed his plan on welcoming those students from Dominica, schools like C.W. Sanders say they're ready and willing to take on those students when they arrive. Following the Prime Minister's revelation that several private schools have embraced the idea of assisting Dominican students in the wake of Hurricane Maria, principal of C.W. Sanders Baptist School, Dr. Sheldon Higgs, told our news today his school would welcome those students with open arms.
He's noted that the Baptist was one of those persons who was willing to accept him, and this being a Baptist school, it's a school where you pay to come, and if there are persons who can find scholarships to come, we'll be more than happy to open our doors to receive them.
Dr. Minnis announced in Parliament today that the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of the Bahamas, the Anglican Diocese of the Bahamas, and the Bahamas National Baptist and Missionary Education Convention have offered their educational assistance for students from Dominica. Higgs says while the Baptist school still has to work out certain details like scholarships and expanding class sizes, there's no way he could say no, asserting that's what the church is here for.
We'll have to find out where they are in terms of their academic status and just place them accordingly. Now, whether they need to, if they need further help, we'll have to just make probably provisions after school to sort of help them to bring up to the standard of the grade level. I feel it's a right thing to do. When I was just looking online this morning and looking at the island, you know, and they're really devastated and need help.
C.W. Sanders currently has just over 700 students divided into 25 students into a class. Dr. Higgs says he doesn't foresee a problem accommodating more students. There has been some pushback from Bahamians who feel the government should help displaced residents of Acklands and Ragged Island before making such an offer to the people of Dominica. However, the Baptist school principal says that isn't the way to look at things.
Each person have their own opinion, and maybe that's how some feel, and you'll not get everybody to, in terms, believe certain things or to go along with certain things, and so therefore that's their individual thinking. I, of course, think differently.
And Dr. Higgs isn't the only education on board. Lisa McCartney, founder and director of the Meridian School and Windsor Preparatory School, says she is also open to assisting those students as well, explaining her board of directors will be meeting to discuss the government's plan. Reporting for Our News, I'm April Sands.
You're watching the best in Bahamian news. There's more when Our News returns.